general manager, Mark Hendrickson, but also by the top builders and founders from the biggest apps in the Stacks ecosystem, including Hermetica, Zest, Stacking DAO, Velar, Alex, and Granite. And whether you're optimizing returns on STX with stacking or deploying BTC in SBTC-enabled DeFi on Stacks, this new platform brings every capability of the Lether ecosystem into a streamlined and secure interface, and it's purpose-built for both advanced users and newcomers. We will explore a wide range of Stacks-powered yield opportunities with our guests, but first we're going to check in with Mark Hendrickson. Mark, congratulations and welcome back to the lounge.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
So before we get into some of the details, let's talk big picture. So what was the vision that drove you and the team behind this browser-based experience, and what kind of gaps does this fill in the current ecosystem?
Yeah, well, I'd say over the years of working on this offering, this wallet, both the Stacks ecosystem and for the broader Bitcoin ecosystem, we've seen various trends come and go. I think a lot of times what happens in crypto is you see sort of more short-term trends around meme coins and whatnot hit the scene, and then months later they're gone. And I think what we've developed is really this strengthened, sort of reinforced sense that the most important thing we can do for users, for Bitcoin users, is to center our user experience and our functionality, our feature set on the opportunities that are much more long-term and sustainable. Bitcoin users are all about the belief we have in the long-term potential of the technology and the asset. And so we really wanted to align our offering with the idea of long-term opportunities. And so that's what we've done. We've also witnessed the rise of, I think, a lot of yield products on Stacks the last few years. And so what we want to do with this release is embrace the idea of Bitcoin yields and earn opportunities on Bitcoin powered by Stacks to provide a really comprehensive user experience for investing your BTC or your STX in protocols, decentralized protocols via the Lether interface in a way that you can, as a user, create a lot of wealth over the long term, not the short term. I think we care really about folks committing value that will grow little by little, or perhaps a lot by lot, but really over a time scale that is in the course of years versus just days or months. And so this web app release, which is going to go live today, is really about providing the most comprehensive place for people to go and learn about all these opportunities. Currently, it's a very scattered user experience. Folks have to go around to different websites, web apps. They have to look on Twitter. They have to kind of do their own research to kind of get a decent sense of what they can do as far as Bitcoin yield. And so what we want to do is provide just a front page comprehensive experience around discovering what opportunities are available. We're focused on SBDC opportunities for taking people's Bitcoin, bridging over to SBDC, and then committing that capital from there, and also stacking. So taking STX and committing that to either pools or liquid stacking protocols. So the idea is really how to provide the sort of best portal for discovery, enrollments, and management of these sorts of capital allocations.
Yeah, to your point about kind of the learning curve for anyone coming into the space, right now it's like you mentioned, there are so many opportunities, but there's not really a cohesive, comprehensive collection where someone can go to learn about what the different platforms are. Can you talk to us about those two main areas that we're focusing on, whether that's stacking STX or bridging Bitcoin into SBTC? So tell us about those two yield options.
Yeah. Well, with stacking really has two forms. Well, you could say three forms, but we really focus on two of them. There's pooled stacking. And so that's the idea of taking your STX and pooling that STX with other folks that have STX to earn native rewards from the Stacks protocol. And then there's liquid stacking, which is converting your STX into a liquid stacking token, which you can still deploy that capital in DeFi, but it will appreciate over time because in the background, there's a pool that's also accruing rewards. And so there are really two flavors that appeal to different types of users. And we've put them front and center and natively integrated both of those with all the providers that are out there in Stacks that are of good reputation. And so when it comes to pools, for example, we have Stacking DAO, we have Fast Pool, Plan Better, Restake, Xverse. When it comes to liquid providers, we have Stacking DAO and Lisa. And so users have a lot of choice. And so we're really trying to strike this balance of providing one single centralized discovery and management point of contact for users, and yet maintain a lot of optionality for users. We don't want people to be locked into a particular pool or locked into a particular liquidity provider. You get a lot of choice while also getting the sort of comprehensiveness of just looking in one place and learning and managing from that place. When it comes to SBC rewards, which is more of a nascent sort of type of earn opportunity on Stacks, there are basically two ways to get SBC these days. You need a bridge from Bitcoin, so take your Bitcoin and get over to SBC, and we have a native bridge in Lether, the extension to do so. Or you can swap other Stacks-based tokens for SBC, and once you have SBC in either of those sort of manners, you can commit them to a variety of SBC-based yield opportunities. And again, through our discovery experience, you can discover the more sort of basic SBC rewards program, which has been running since the bridge went live last year. You have pools that are available from Alex, Bitflow, Valar, Zest, and soon we're also going to feature Granite. So you have options to deploy your SBC capital in a number of protocols, and well, we display the sort of data points and the sort of information and the trade-offs to the users in a comprehensive way so people can make that choice.
Yeah, it really is enabling anyone to make the choice, because there's different like flavors of yield-bearing tools. We're going to check in with Hermetica first. Jakob is here. Jakob, thank you for joining us. And yeah, let's talk about Hermetica for the uninitiated and unfamiliar. Jakob, if you could just give us an overview of what Hermetica is, what you guys offer, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah. Hey guys, happy to chat Hermetica and see you all. Yeah, Hermetica is a Bitcoin-backed yield-bearing stablecoin. We essentially take Bitcoin, we take out the price exposure of Bitcoin, and then issue that dollar value of Bitcoin on chain as a stablecoin. That's USDH. That's live on Stacks, live on Bitcoin L1 as a rune. And then there's a yield component to it where you can stake the stablecoin on our website, Hermetica FI, and then you receive funding rates every day. We collect funding rates from our short futures positions on centralized exchanges, and we pass that on to folks that stake the stablecoin every day. And that is a real yield, market-driven yield. We're essentially selling long leverage to the market and getting paid to do so. And yeah, it generates, since inception, we've generated around 16% annualized yield on dollars, and that's all backed by Bitcoin and accessible on Bitcoin L1 and Bitcoin L2 stacks right now. So that's Hermetica in a nutshell.
Nice. So maybe you could dig deeper into why people would want to have the Bitcoin-backed stable dollar as part of their portfolio, as part of the balance. You know, some people, they might want to have a portion of in Bitcoin, they might want to have a portion in Stacks or other SIP10 tokens, and then they might want to have some in cash. Can you talk about that balance and approach to, you know, having the balance across the crypto spectrum?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any well-rounded portfolio probably has both Bitcoin, some Stacks, if you want some beta, and then dollars. Dollars is still the unit of account of the world. And so a lot of folks actually denominate their portfolios in dollars and want to take profits into dollars. And so if you want to hold Bitcoin in dollars, you can obviously hold stable coins like USDC, USDT today, and they're very liquid and they can be used across a lot of different applications. It's a great product, but they don't really provide a yield, and they're really not backed by Bitcoin. They're backed by fiat in a bank account. So if you want to stay in the Bitcoin ecosystem, you still actually want to hold Bitcoin, because USDH at the end of the day is still Bitcoin. It's just $1 worth of Bitcoin. So you lock in generated from Bitcoin. Then USDH is a great option for your portfolio where you can hold it alongside Bitcoin. It's a great companion to Bitcoin. That's how I like to say it.
Okay, nice. Before I pivot back to Mark to talk about how to access Hermetica through the new web app, is there anything else you'd like to share, Jakob, or any questions for Mark while we're all together here?
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to work with you guys to have Hermetica staking, USDH staking in Ladder. I think we talked about that before. That would be a really cool use case. We're also working actually on a potential version of USDH that yields Bitcoin instead of USDH. So it could be a staked version of USDH that actually accrues Bitcoin, similar to maybe Stacks. Yeah, I think there's a lot of synergies with Ladder and what you guys are building on the Earn side.
Yeah, totally. I'll just point out that I didn't mention Hermetica before when I was mentioning names. That's only because currently we do have an app directory going live with a new web app, and we're listing Hermetica and others. I think others, their faces we're going to see soon on this show. But the next step for us is to integrate beyond just SBC and stacking opportunities, like I was talking about, other stacks-based staking opportunities, lending opportunities, etc., directly into our interface. And so we're on the same page. We'd love to have that, so that folks that come to Ladder can engage directly with Hermetica, and they don't have to leave Ladder necessarily to enroll, to manage, and then to profit from their investments.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's make it happen.
Jakob, thanks so much for joining us for a little brief check-in with you and Hermetica.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Next, we're going to welcome from Zest, the man, the myth, the legend, Tycho. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, what's up? Just a quick mic check if you can hear me.
I can hear you, and I see you have some bruising from the bear market battles. What happened here?
Fighting the bears, you know. But yeah, I see. Like the war has been won. New all-time highs today. Bitcoin just broke all-time highs. You started talking, so yeah. Can thank me later.
All right. Yep. I'll send you flowers and a thank you note. So similarly for Hermetica, for the uninitiated and unfamiliar here, can you give us a quick overview of what you guys offer with Zest?
Yeah, so Zest protocol is essentially a lending protocol or money market on Stacks, and essentially on Zest people can supply assets to earn yield, which means that other people on the other side are borrowing those assets, and essentially in that way yield is generated, or users can supply assets to then borrow against those assets, right, and basically get leverage on BTC, right, through SBTC, or STX, or staked versions of STX, right, like staked STX. And Zest protocol today is the largest DeFi protocol on Stacks in terms of TVL. It has about $70 million of TVL, and also the largest DeFi protocol holding SBTC. Right, there's about 470 SBTC on Zest today, and there's a nice incentive for that. There's a boosted yield, which doesn't necessarily come from borrowing, but it's more of a sort of boosted reward for depositing BTC on the platform. So users can earn up to 4.5, or I think it's 4.4 today, but 4.4% on BTC. So that's like a Zest reward and Stacks reward. So that's a very exciting one.
Yeah, there are so many different ways of generating yield, and I think for a lot of people who maybe just thought that Bitcoin you just hold, hodl forever and maybe sell someday, but if you can't avoid it, like never sell your Bitcoin, right? So much of what is exciting about the Stacks ecosystem and with SBTC is this idea that you can make your Bitcoin work for you. It can make it more productive. Tycho, let me throw that question back to you. What are your thoughts about the current landscape of Bitcoin yield options, and what does SBTC and Stacks unlock for you specifically in Zest, or I guess on any protocol? Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think Stacks is going to be the chain with the best Bitcoin yields, like the best Bitcoin-based activity, and essentially I think there's really two ways to generate Bitcoin yield, like generally, but also on Stacks today, and I think this is going to expand and become much bigger over the next year. But number one is just by moving your Bitcoin to the chain, right? It's like you move your Bitcoin to SBTC on Stacks, and then you get an incentive reward from Stacks. I believe it's around 3% or so, 2.5 to 3%. And that's like a base yield. I think in the future those incentives maybe might change with like dual staking on stacks, so that could be BTC staking. But there will be some kind of yield, right, from moving your BTC to another layer. So that's number one way to generate Bitcoin yield. And then number two, and perhaps sort of more interesting even, and for a higher yield, is to essentially borrow against the BTC and use the borrowed assets to engage in some kind of yield generating activity, right? So let's say today you can go to Zest protocol, you can put your SBTC there, so then you already have 4.5%. And then you can borrow, for example, USDH, right, which is the Hermetica stablecoin, Jacob, who we just saw earlier here. You can borrow that at roughly 3.5 to 4%, and then stake it with Hermetica at 10 to 15. So you're going to capture like another sort of 6% there. So in that way, you're going to get to like 10% on BTC by depositing it first, capturing the 4.5, and then borrowing something and deploying it in a yield bearing strategy, right? Obviously, more risk than just putting your BTC on Zest and doing nothing. You have to monitor like what are the staking rates and borrow rates. But if you're doing that, then these are really the two ways that Bitcoin yield is generated. Also in like kind of like the bigger wider world outside of stacks.
Okay, so if you're listening and some of that went over your head and it sounded a little bit too complex, there is a weekly Stacks DeFi show where a lot of the familiar faces that we are talking to today meet weekly and talk about just the latest in the Stacks ecosystem, especially when it comes to DeFi. And that's a great opportunity to listen in, learn more, and even bounce questions back and forth, because there really is a wide range of yield options and a spectrum of kind of risk reward versus much more stable and less risky. So Tycho, can you plug the weekly show? Yeah.
The lights went off here, unfortunately. Yeah. So the Stacks DeFi show is every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time on X, and there we talk about all the developments in Stacks DeFi and kind of decipher these yields. But yeah, if I can make it very simple or put it in very simple terms, right? Like, how do you generate yield on BTC? Well, one, moving it to Stacks, that's one way, and then the other way, on top of that, if you want to go further, is to borrow an asset against it on Stacks and generate yield with that borrowed asset. And USDH is a great example of that.
Yeah. For users who bridge Bitcoin to SBTC, does it natively make yield, or do you have to put it onto a platform?
So if you bridge Bitcoin to SBTC, it will generate yield by itself. I mean, you do have to register, I believe, still on like Bitcoin is more, or maybe on Ledger Earn. I think you can also do that. You need to sort of complete some registration. Maybe quickly ask ChatGPT what exactly it is again. So then you get yield. If you want to get a little bit extra on top, you can go to zestprotocol.com and deposit it there for basically an extra %.
Great. All right. Anything else before we move on?
Yeah, I think just generally very excited for Cap 3. Very excited for 2000 BTC flowing into the ecosystem, and yeah, very excited to make all this BTC productive with Zest protocol.
Thanks so much, Tycho. All right. Well, the partner app to Zest is Stacking Down. We're going to bring up Noam. Noam from Stacking Down here. We're going to get you up on stage. There we are. Noam, thanks for joining us.
Let me put my screen. Okay. Sorry, I had the cap on because I'm okay.
All right. So we've been talking about generating yield with Bitcoin, bridging over to SBTC, putting up as loans, putting up Bitcoin as loans. But talk to us about the yield generating strategies when it comes to STX.
So first of all, maybe let's quickly introduce STX for people that don't know it. So basically, Stacking Down, our core products, enable to deposit STX and earn yield in STX or BTC up to 10%. And at the same time, you get a token, STSTX or STSX BTC, depending on the yield that you want. which can then be deposited across different protocols. So for example, you can go on Zest, deposit SSTX, and then borrow USDH from Hermetica. And then maybe you can go back on Hermetica and stake it. So for example, this is one of the most common strategies because SSTX earns around 8% a year right now. Borrowing USDH on Zest is around 3%. So it's still like net positive of 5%. And then when you go back to Hermetica and stake the borrowed USDH, you're doing another like 50%. So right now, like you have a strategy leveraging liquid staking that can earn up to 20%. Or another strategy could be one of the most famous one. If you want to amplify staking yield, you go on Stacking DAO, deposit STX to mint STSTX or STSTX BTC. So again, you're making around 8% a year in BTC or STX. You go back to Zest, you borrow STX, and you so BTC tokens and borrowing STX on Zest, which means they yield is higher than Zest forms of STX. You're amplifying your yield. Amplify your yield somehow.
No, it's pretty choppy. I'm not sure what we can do with the connection here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm losing. Let's check again. I'm losing by 5.
It must be the new all-time high. It's just breaking everyone's computers.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. It should be better now.
Still, we got the robot voice going up. I'll circle back to you, see if we can because I know that's a lot of good information that you're giving us right now. So let's see if we can circle back at the end if you're still available. Okay, Mark, let me check in with you again before we move through our list and talk about Alex and Velar and Grana as well.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say something in response to Tycho, because at the end there, he was like trying to answer, how do you get involved with SBC rewards and then pursue your strategy from there? And he mentioned ChatGPT. I thought that was interesting. And there's actually a really important part of what we're looking to solve with this new web app is providing that very upfront basic information about, okay, how do I even get started? And so when it comes to SBC rewards, folks who come to this new web app will be able to see the basic information about what the opportunity entails, but also dive deeper into basically a knowledge base that we're creating around all of these concepts. And so we understand that most people don't wake up every day and work on this and are as familiar with these terms. And so we want to make it very, very accessible and very easy for folks to follow the breadcrumb trail as far as they first learn about Bitcoin-based yield, they learn about stacks, they learn about this thing called SBDC, and then this rewards program. And we want to be able to educate them along the way. So we view that as a really core part of our responsibility. And so we're starting to manifest that with this new launch. And we also have a lot more ideas in the hopper that we're looking to execute around that will hopefully become more interactive as well. So I think AI-based sort of experiences that help to educate people and answer their questions based on our institutional knowledge around these topics is something that we're very much interested in. And I think we'll be looking to work with our partners, the ones that are showing up on the show, to make sure that their context and their strategies that they're aware of are also incorporated so that it's accessible to everyone who comes.
Nice. At the end in the Q&A time, I'd love to hear more from you about how AI has changed your workflow and maybe even had an influence on the web app. So we'll put a pin in that and come to it later. But I want to bring Resh up on stage from Velar. Resh, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you kind of bounce around to a lot of apps in the ecosystem. You've been around. So before I even knew about Stacks, I knew about you because I was in a lot of similar like Telegram groups, and I would hear your iconic voice. So before I even knew about Stacks, I was in like Bitcoin clubhouses with you. So you and I go back. But I know you're associated with a lot of platforms, but why don't you give us a rundown of what Velar is and how users can take advantage of the suite of tools that you all provide?
Sure, great. Thanks for bringing me with such high esteem. I hope I don't disappoint you now. So, Vela is essentially a perplex. We'll be the we are the first perpetual decentralized exchange built directly on Bitcoin through Stacks. Now, the reason we wanted to do this because the founder Mikhail always believed that everything will eventually return to Bitcoin and not be built on other layers. So staying true to that purpose, he's built now with the team an infrastructure that brings institutional grade trading capabilities while always maintaining the security guarantee that Bitcoin provides. So that's the main goal of it. Now we are introducing the first pair on PerpDEX, which is SBTC and USDH. Now this is done specifically to show that everything is finalized on Bitcoin. Currently, with the available liquidity, users can trade with 5x leverage. With once more liquidity comes in, you can go up to 10x. So that's the great thing about trading directly on Vela. Now we also have a DEX functionality there. At the last count, I believe we had about 164 trading packs that people have launched on their own or through SDXCD, and they bonded and straight decided to launch on Vela. That's a testament, to be honest, for us that the community really believes in the product, and we are very grateful for the trust. Now, to see the demand that currently what Vela is, how interested people on building directly on PerpDEX, on Vela, we launched our product on Bybit Exchange, and we actually had the most successful campaign in history of Bybit, to be honest. We had $30 million in trading in the first 24 hours. We had 127,000 participants. And that's a testament directly from what the market is saying. You know, we want something directly built on Bitcoin, and that's why we're excited about it. Now, Vela PerpDEX is just a stepping stone. We're going to take this across other L2s, to be honest. Meso is going to be launched, I believe. We are launching a Meso, which is really exciting, sometime next month, I believe, once they're ready, which we'll make more announcement at time. The interest has been through the roof, to be honest. We can't anticipate any more excitement. Now, to encourage this, what we're going to do is that we're going to launch a creator program as well. So anybody who's interested in earning more Vela tokens or participating in the ecosystem, just keep an eye out on that. But yeah, in a long shot, that's what Vela is building in the present moment.
Excellent. Yeah, it's been amazing to see the demand, especially with the PerpDEX. I know there's nothing like it in the ecosystem, so that's really serving a big need. Okay, good. Resh, anything else? That was a really comprehensive intro to Zest. Let's make sure we give the right website address. So where can users go to start exploring?
So they can go to vela.co to read more about Vela, or follow Vela at Vela.btc on X. That's the point of contact if you want to find anything. Official announcement, please be very careful about potential scams out there right now. With Bitcoin all-time high, we're going to see this tremendously risky atmosphere. So please be very careful. Only look at announcement made at Vela main handles, no anywhere else. So that's the message. In regards to PerpDEX, we'll be bringing in a referral system as well. So individuals that are keen on participating on that, please keep your eyes and ears open, and we'll keep you informed. As what Nikhil always says, everything eventually returns to Bitcoin.
All roads lead to Bitcoin. I love it. Resh, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Thanks, brother.
Mark, I wanted to touch on something that he alluded to there, which is, the sheer number of scams in the ecosystem, the amount of fake websites that try to lure people on. So maybe I can get your thoughts about how Lether fixes this, really, with the Lether web app being the conduit to the rest of this robust ecosystem with trusted links.
Yeah, well, I think whenever someone's working on a decentralized piece of technology, which we're a self-custody wallet and we really have decentralization at the core of our ethos, we want to preserve the personal control that users have over how they manage and deal with assets. And at the same time, of course, we want to protect them against malicious actors out there. And so this question of how do we warn users or prevent them from engaging with suspicious or malicious tokens or NFTs that land in their wallet, for example, has to be balanced with allowing them to access and use any asset that might not be known to us or to anyone else that might be considered an authority. And so we take the approach where we try to essentially filter upfront based on criteria that we think that we can rely on behalf of our users to say, okay, these tokens, we recognize them as coming or being recognized by sources that we trust. For example, DEXs that we work with that they themselves have basic quality controls. And so we'll give higher visibility to those assets. And the ones that we don't see as having indicators of trust, we might hide those away a little bit. We might make those harder to get to. We might label them as suspicious. We still allow people to interact with them because we might get it wrong. So there might be a new token drop or a new collectible that we haven't heard of, nor have our partners. We don't want to necessarily stop people from interacting with those. So it's all about, I think, achieving the best of both worlds in the sense of complete independence, in the sense of users can do whatever they want, interact with whatever they want, with apps that they want to interact with. At the same time, try to inform them as much as possible and give them as much of the information they need to make an informed decision so that they don't accidentally engage with an imposter token, for example, or an imposter application. So it's a continual sort of progressive effort that we're putting in place to make sure that on all fronts we can warn as much as possible. But we're discovering new ways to do that all the time.
Yeah. At the end, I want to come back and get your thoughts on kind of the range of users, as you've been very intentional about building a product that is good enough for the advanced users, but not overwhelming. So we'll come back to that. And I want to bring Philip back up on stage. Philip, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I'm looking at you sideways now. Shake the phone. Let's see if it recognizes.
I'm on the run and I'm in a public hallway. So.
Okay. Well, actually, go ahead and tilt it back the other way. There we go. Okay, that's good. That's good. Nice. Great. Well, this might be a good opportunity. We had Noam on to talk about Stacking DAO, but the connection was pretty weak. So maybe you can give us an overview of Stacking DAO and what users can do to maximize your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stacking DAO, at Stacking DAO, we want to make it easy for people to stack and to earn yields on their STX tokens. There's, in fact, 3 products that we have today: Stacks, Stacks DTC, that's a handful, and Native Stacking. Native Stacking is something that most people, I assume, are familiar with. People who have been in the Stacks ecosystem know what it means to stack with proof of transfer. They stack their stacks and they yield something, right? They get rewards. In this case, for Native Stacking, they get BTC rewards every 2 weeks. We made that a lot easier in the past year or so by introducing what we call LSTs in the space, liquid state tokens, meaning you can stack with us, get a token that represents that principal, that stacked amount, and earn yields. The nice thing I believe that we do with Stacking now is that we offer continuous rewards. And that means you don't get paid discretely every 2 weeks. but you get paid every 70 Bitcoin blocks. And every 70 Bitcoin blocks is approximately half a day. So every half a day, you get 1/30th of the Bitcoin yield that you are eligible for based on how many tokens you stacked, right? And so that's pretty nice because people no longer have to wait 2 weeks to get yield. They can just stack, start earning yield today, take those tokens in DeFi, borrow against them, do something else with them, keep them in their wallets. It doesn't really matter what they do. The power is there, the flexibility is there, and they earn yield, like I said, right away, which is a big step forward from the discrete 2-week windows that we've always known with proof of transfer. But if you would remember one thing about stacking now is that we want to make stacking easy and as easy as possible for the end user. Does that help?
Yeah, well said.
Is that a better overview? Or?
Yeah. Well, I know you both nailed it, but yeah, that was really clear. And I think it's important because 2 weeks can be a long time in this ecosystem. Like, you want to be able to, in the middle of that cycle, you might need those yields to, like you said, to do some sort of activity in DeFi. So yeah, make sure, let's get them to the right website. So how do people access Stacking DAO?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, you said something pretty important there. When you said, say, mid-cycle, you're like, I have some real-life expenses, or I need to do something. If you have an LST, that's something that's liquid. You can sell that mid-cycle and get your principal back too. You can sell it on the DEXs, like the Bitflows of the world, or you can request what we call an instant withdrawal with Stacking DAO itself. And an instant withdrawal allows you to immediately unstack, but at a 1% fee. You would lose 1%, but you immediately get the liquidity, or you go to the Bitflows of the world and then get the rate that is offered on the DEX, right? So that kind of triggered something in me when you said that. Forget to talk about that, but yeah. And Stacking DAO, I would say it's as easy as going to app.stackingdao.com. Immediately we shove like the 3 options in your face. You go to it, you select your favorites, flavor, stacks, BTC, or native stacking. And I would say it's as simple as that. My opinion, and that's always hard as a builder, but my opinion is that our UI and UX should be self-explanatory. We do a lot of like testing and quality assurance these days, so anyone listening, if this is live or recording, I'm not quite sure, but anyone listening, go to app.stackingdao.com now, and if you don't understand it, send me an email. Philip@stackingdao.com, and I'd love to help you, because again, stacking should be as easy as possible. If you have some STX tokens, you need to get those stacked, and there's no reason not to, because you can't stay liquid. So yeah, I hope that helps. Last but not least, we are getting into Bitcoin staking too. So at the time of recording yesterday, Stacks announced dual staking. We will be building an LSC around that too. So we will soon allow you to stake your Bitcoin too. So not only your Stacks tokens, but also your BTC, and earn some yield on that. So we try to be at the forefront, obviously, of everything that's happening on Stacks.
Absolutely, I know you are. Well, thanks, Philip, for joining us and talking about Stacking DAO. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. I know that Hadan popped up briefly. He might join us, but we can, for now, we're going to bring up Brandon Marshall. Marshall Mixing from many things in Trust Machines, the social media manager, and just behind the scenes on so much. So, Brandon, welcome back to the lounge.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was here 2 weeks ago, and I remember we were talking about Bitcoin's price, and we, I think, smashed past 100K during the last lounge that I was on, and now I'm on another lounge, and we're at new all-time highs. So I got to join more often.
All right, let's take dual credit for this one. Nice, and Hadan is here as well. Thanks for joining, Hadan. All right, well, let's talk about specifically, Brandon, let's talk specifically about Granite, and then we can pivot to you, Hadan, and talk about the whole suite of tools within the Alex ecosystem. So, okay, so Brandon, with Granite, what's the platform for? Who's along the spectrum of like yield opportunities. Where does this one sit?
Yeah, so Granite is a Bitcoin lending protocol. It is intentionally simple. So basically, it's two primary functions that you can do with Granite. You can either borrow stable coins and use Bitcoin as collateral or SBTC as collateral to get liquidity on your Bitcoin, right? So you don't have to sell your Bitcoin if you need stable coins. Or you can provide stable coins to the protocol to earn a yield as a liquidity provider. Those are the two main functions. Those are the other two kind of coins, I guess, that or tokens that Granite currently supports. Granite is very unique compared to most other lending protocols out there, not even on Stacks, but just like across all of DeFi, in that there is no rehypothecation. So when you deposit Bitcoin onto Granite, that Bitcoin is not lent out to anybody else. You're not earning a yield on it, but that is intentional because if you are lending out your Bitcoin to somebody else, you are risking your Bitcoin in some way. And Granite is all about removing as many of these risks as possible. Bitcoin is such a pristine asset, and you don't want to put your Bitcoin at risk, right? We want to protect your Bitcoin as much as possible. So no rehypothecation is one of the big ones. Second one is soft liquidations. So if you take out a loan, right? Price of Bitcoin goes up and down pretty often. If your loan gets into sort of danger levels where it needs to be liquidated, you don't lose your entire stack. And it's really strange if, it's maybe not intuitive that most of these lending platforms that are out there, if you take out a loan and then you need to get liquidated, these lending platforms will liquidate between 50 to 100% of your entire position. So Granite does soft liquidations. So they will only liquidate just the portion that is needed to return your account back to solvency. So that's huge, right? So it's minimizing that loss as much as possible. And then the third one is notifications. So you can set up right now Telegram notifications to monitor your account health. So if your account health does start to dip below, levels that you can set, you can get notified for it without having to constantly be checking the price or constantly be checking the Granite dashboard to see and make sure that your loan is healthy. So even before you get partially liquidated, Granite will notify you ahead of time to, again, try to protect your Bitcoin as much as possible. So those are kind of the three main things that Granite is doing. We can get into some of the LP stuff as well, but it's really designed to be the safest place to borrow against your Bitcoin.
Yeah, we should go into the LP thing, but also, is it open to the public right now, or is it still small group?
So it's still in early access. One of the main reasons that it's still in early access is just because with SBTC, the cap, we have cap 3 coming tomorrow, right? We're all very excited for that. And withdrawals, launched a few weeks ago, which are also very, very important. But just because the cap is not just open, fully, there's a little bit more friction involved with, getting your Bitcoin in and out of the system of SBTC. So I think as, we get closer to the cap being fully lifted, we'll get closer to Granite just being open beta for everybody to use. Right now, it's just invite only, but if you send me a DM or send Granite a DM, we can get you access, especially if you have SBTC or AEUSDC, which is the stablecoin that Granite is using, and you want to test it out, just let us know. It's pretty easy to get access, but that's currently why it's in early access mode.
Okay, very good. Yeah, it's not that it's closed. It's that you may have to knock on some doors to get access, which I would highly recommend because it's, like, to your point, it's simple and it feels secure and safe. Before we transition, let's get your thoughts on the LP.
Yeah, so Granite has LP incentives, which right now make it incredibly attractive to put stablecoins on Granite. Currently, I think we'll be starting a new week today. LP incentives go out in like a weekly sort of epic. So last week, every Wednesday is when that happens. So last Wednesday, new Epic started. The APYs for putting stablecoins on Granite were almost 47% APY, which is massive.
Yeah.
It's really designed to incentivize early users. That sounds like a really high, really potentially even scary number. I think if you have come from some of the kind of lending protocols of days past, but um, what that really just translates to is there's basically a set amount of liquidity rewards that are allocated weekly. So the earlier that you are to participate, the more share of that weekly kind of rewards you'll receive. So it's really just designed to incentivize early users, and as more users enter the platform, those rewards will probably go down to more kind of expected levels. But for now, I think get it while you can. It's a really attractive rate, and the protocol is just trying to attract more users and more liquidity into the system.
Nice. Well, you've been lingering for the entire show, so I wanted to give you a chance. Are there any questions you want to throw to Mark, or anything we should talk about that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, if I'm in an interview with Mark, I'm always going to ask about mobile. I know that's not the main focus of the show. But since Sean is teeing up the question about mobile, I know we're going to be in Vegas next week, and we're going to be assisting at the Stacks booth at the main conference. So I'm excited to talk about all the really great things that are happening in the Stacks ecosystem there, and hopefully I'll have some mobile news to talk about as well next week. But maybe Mark, whatever you want to share, I guess, on that front.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to be transparent about this. These are 2 big weeks for us for Leather, because this week we launched our new web app, which we discussed previously, and that really, I think, for us presents a whole new face for our brand as far as what we're focused on. And next week we'll be finally releasing mobile. So I think your wishes are coming true, and should be just in time for the conference. So the dream will be complete by the end of next week.
Yes,
I'll be ready.
Yeah, it's so much happening right now. Brandon, thanks so much for joining us. And I'm going to plug your show every Friday, Good for Bitcoin, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, Brandon. Thanks again. And last but not least, we're going to bring up Hadan from Alex. Let me get my people manager over here. Okay, here we go. Hadan, thanks for joining us so much.
Oh, of course.
It's good to see you. Welcome back to the lounge. If anyone missed the show, I forget off the top of my head what episode it was, in the late 40s, 47 maybe. Hadan joined us for a really incredible leather lounge. One of my favorites. I have a lot of favorites, but it's in my top 5. Top 5 for sure. So for anyone unfamiliar, tell us about Alex.
Right. So, Alex really began as a standalone DeFi on Stacks. Our testnet was late 2021. Our mainnet was Jan 2022. I think right after, Deco was the first DeFi to launch, and maybe a month or 2 later, we launched. And so, Alex remains, I would say, to sort of the present moment, in terms of TVL and daily volume, the sort of core DEX of the Stacks protocol. Along with the DEX functions, there's the Alex Launchpad that we've done IDOs through. And I would say, between 2022 to present, we've kind of expanded our product offering to the point that we have Lisa, which is the other staking protocol on Stacks. Though in the shadow of Stacking DAO, it's always good to have options and alternatives, and competition is healthy in any ecosystem. And also most recently, our X-Link bridge we've rebranded as Protocol. And more than a rebranding, really the idea has been to create a sort of a Bitcoin connectivity layer. And by that, I mean there are 3 key functions that Protocol offers, which is a Bro Swap, which is a Bitcoin DEX, Bro Bridge, which bridges Bitcoin and stacks across, I think it's over across 20 plus networks at the moment. Teaser in June sometime. Solana might be added to those bridging networks, and also Bro Pay, which is a functionality coming in the future, so that users across any chain, whether it's Ethereum, BNB Pay, or Solana, with one click can execute, say, a Bitcoin payment to a Bitcoin vendor or merchant. And so as far as protocol goes, some really key points is that Stacks is the universal smart contract layer that makes it all operational. So protocol doing well is definitely a net positive for Stacks. In a way, it's us looking to widen our footprint in terms of user base, and that we have a pretty strong foothold in Stacks as far as Alex goes. And of course, like any Stacks protocol, the vision becomes how do we onboard all these Bitcoin L1 users, a lot of whom are skeptical about if they have to open a new wallet on another chain, that they're already out and don't want to hear about it. And so protocol allows you directly from a Bitcoin wallet, you connect your Bitcoin wallet to protocol, and with one click you can execute these swaps. And what's interesting about it is that we have this mentality of bringing Bitcoin, of bringing DeFi to Bitcoin, meaning that right now, if you look at say what a typical crypto users might have in a centralized exchange, where you have this whole list of different assets that are there. The idea is that you can look in your Bitcoin wallet and see represented on the L1 as BRC20s or as runes, wrapped Solana, wrapped Ethereum, wrapped popular meme coins from other chains. And you're able to hold that on your L1 Bitcoin wallet. You're able to, with one click, transact from that to stable coins. We're really, again, gearing up for the launch of Tether on Bitcoin as a Taproot asset on the L1, between Bitcoin itself or between other L2s such as Stacks. And so I think it provides it's a good balancing act, because while Bitcoin network fees are low, there's definitely there's this demand there of Bitcoin native users, that the idea is appealing of having everything accessible to you on your Bitcoin wallet with one click, no wallet complexity, no layer complexity. A Bitcoin asset leaves your wallet, a Bitcoin asset comes back. We'll have instant transaction confirmation with the settlement then coming on the next Bitcoin block that settles. And if Bitcoin fees spike, which would be incredibly bullish for Stacks and L2s. If you look historically, typically we've seen these all-time highs and big rushes and Stacks once Bitcoin network fees have really spiked around the 2021 all-time highs, around ordinals, 1 year after ordinals around runes. And so, if Bitcoin then becomes too expensive, well, it's very easy to say, well, you guys should then, use Alex on Stacks, where, it's much more scalable, it's less expensive, and also you have these like 5-second transaction times. And so in Bitcoin Vegas next week, that's what the team will really be presenting at the main venue. We're looking to connect the protocol, to partner with as many different projects and chains as possible, to really make this a pan cross-chain network as effectively as we can. And on the Alex front, we have our Surge 4 campaign, which is alive now. I'm excited to see that we have meme coins in the top 3 spots, which tells me a bit of that bullish degen sentiment is reawakening. Last time we saw that was with Surge 1 back in November. The rounds after that, when things were quieter, we saw the SBTC pools take those top spots. And also, perhaps even in as little as a few hours, we'll be posting on Twitter the 2 audits that have been completed for the Alex Dam, which is our concentrated liquidity platform. Soon to come after that will be a bit of testnet. but we're really looking forward to getting that launched as well, and think it'll be, you know, one of those giant steps forwards for Stacks DeFi and Bitcoin DeFi as a whole. So yeah, I would say just in a nutshell, that's where we are right now. Just a lot of things cooking for sure, but we're very excited for all of them, and really straddling, you know, 1 foot in the Bitcoin L1 and 1 foot in the Stacks L2.
Well said. That was a nice comprehensive overview. I know there's a lot that Alex has to offer, so I would encourage anyone to just dip your toe, get started, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, take a look at Surge 4. You know, there's always interesting opportunities there. So yeah, you know, let's keep Stacks DeFi fun for sure.
Love it. Hadan, thanks so much for joining.
Oh, thank you very much, guys. Always a pleasure. Take care.
All right, see you next time.
All right.
All right, Mark, back to you. So let me circle back to this idea of trying to accommodate a whole range of users. You know, we have the advanced users who have been in DeFi for 3 or 4 years. They've been around for multiple cycles. They have a strong understanding of what their risk tolerance is and a lot of the different just terms to be aware of in DeFi. But then there's going to be a lot of other people being onboarded to the ecosystem as retail comes back. How did you keep that in mind as far as balancing the flow of the web app?
Yeah, well, I think the really deep, long-term Stacks community members that have taken the initiative to research all the things we've already talked about during this show, you know, they're mainly covered. I think we provide a very robust offering that I think does largely solve their pain points. And so our attention has been more recently focused on this question of newcomers to the Stacks ecosystem, not newcomers to crypto in general. I think we're not looking to attract people for the first time to crypto. We're really interested in people who have BTC, they've already learned about Bitcoin, and they've acquired it because they have some attraction to its long-term value, right? People who have been sort of orange pilled, if you will, right? But like others have spoken during this call, maybe haven't developed a level of comfort or familiarity with what can I actually do with that asset, right? They've learned they can acquire it, hodl it, but then what? And I think that and then what is what we're trying to answer for them. And so our focus is on helping folks that are already Bitcoin literate, but not L2 literate, and not even necessarily active users of other L1s like Solana or Ethereum. Help them for the first time deploy their Bitcoin-based capital into a system that values the same thing as Bitcoin as a base layer, and do so with as much trust and minimization as possible and as much usability as possible, so folks feel safe along the whole journey. So I just think with the Bitcoin ecosystem, there's this huge premium around safety and doing things with the right underlying principles. And so that's what we want to build towards. And we want to make sure that folks not just are using safe things, but have the knowledge available to them to understand that they're using safe things.
Yeah. Okay, so before we close out, we kind of cruised through our guests really quickly with not much of an opportunity to kind of bounce back to you, but is there anything that you wanted to add on to what our guests were talking about?
In general, well, I think one thing that occurred to me while I was listening to the guests is that there's a wealth of knowledge among all of them, right? I think several of them were speaking about multi-layer strategies, right? There's not just this question of take your BTC and do one thing with it, but to take your STX, do one thing with it, and then do other things built on top of that. I think it's really interesting for us to continue to build out in partnership with them. I think also, both from a functional perspective and again from a knowledge perspective, try to, via the Leather user experience, make those strategies more available to more people, right? And so I think that's something that we are seeing maturing on Stacks these days, the sort of the multi-hop strategies, and that of course is introducing more complexity. But I think it's an important thing for us to help our users navigate, because that will of course help them achieve the highest yields.
Yeah. Well, I know we're kind of outside of our 60-minute window here, but what else do you think is important that we include before we round out? And maybe if you want to mention timeline, when is it looking to go live? And again, mentioning what's happening next week.
Yeah. Well, Brandon already asked about the main thing next week. So the web app is going out today, I think, tomorrow at the very latest. Next week, our mobile app, which is highly anticipated, will also go live. It's been in a test flight sort of period with a small group of people for the last several months. And next week, it's going to be made publicly available. So we're very excited about that. And I think I'll just stress overall that we have gone through various, I think, periods as a company and as a brand, right? Whether I think we were the original Stacks wallet, and then came all these other things on the L1 side, Ordinals, BRC20, Runes, etc. More and more as we've gone through that journey, we've realized that our home in Stacks is really what's most important to us. And so those other protocols are still supported in the extension, and that's going to be preserved, and there'll be important, I think, things that those L1 protocols will be able to do to feed into Stacks-based use cases. And so we're very much interested in what kind of L1 assets evolve into or mature into on the L2. But it really is all about the L2 for us, and it's about the functional layer that provides to users. And again, it's about doing more with your Bitcoin. We really believe that is going to be enabled by an L2, and the L2 will be Stacks.
Nice. Well, that's a great way to round it out. So yeah, everyone stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed, turn on those notifications for the Lether BTC handle, because its web app is going to go live any minute now. Tomorrow at the latest, but probably today. And then I'll just give another chance to remind everyone that tomorrow at the regularly scheduled Lether Lounge time at 11 a.m. tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to do a little sneak peek into Inscribing Vegas. We're going to be talking to Nick Sinato from Gamma, Arthur from Nulcha Shows, and Aaron Redwing from Inscribing Atlantis. And it's going to be a great show. So tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Once again, Mark, thanks for joining us and giving us the little sneak peek and the alpha into the behind the scenes of what you've been building. It's a really a comprehensive platform for the ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time on the next Lether Lounge. Thanks again, and also big thanks to all of our guests for joining us as well. All right, see you next time.
Thanks again for joining us in the Lether Lounge. We record each episode live, and if you'd like to listen in or join us on stage, make sure to give us a follow on X at LetherBTC. Lether is your gateway to everything Bitcoin, from DeFi to Stacks, Ordinals, Runes, Stamps, NFTs, and more. You can find loads of helpful crypto content on our YouTube channel, and visit our blog and Learn Center at lether.io.